You could smoke this entire field and you would get a massive headache is about all.
Oh, that's so awesome.
I initially thought about hemp because we're an organic farm. You can't use Roundup, you know, and you look at fields that you say, wow, there are no weeds in that field, and you know why. I was reading about hemp as a potential cover crop. It grows quickly, it has a wide leaf, it snuffs out weeds. But we realized there was a huge regulatory hurdle. In fact, when we started talking about this, Dan and I were sitting on the gator, and we had sort of come to this idea that maybe hemp was interesting. And then with Dan's research background, we started looking at it and said, well, basically it's not legal. All right, why don't we walk out into the field here?
Mark has the agricultural experience of starting this farm. I have more of the regulatory DC experience, and I think together we were really able to identify an opportunity where those two things can really be put together.
I grew up in a farming area in central Pennsylvania. My great-grandparents were farmers, and I had a desire to get back into farming. I said, well, whenever I had the opportunity, I would try to buy a farm. And I did. Come on. Initially, when I bought the farm, it was a sort of a Moribund dairy farm. And this is a combination of 3 different farms that were put together. They were not organic at the time, and so we transitioned those farms over to being organic farms. We have a pastured cattle operation, a pastured pig operation, organic hay. I really wanted to create something that was part of a food system. There's a lot that we don't know, and I think we both approach it hopefully with low enough ego that we realize we're going to make mistakes. What we like to say is you can survive small mistakes on a farm, but you can't survive large mistakes.
We have different enough backgrounds and skill sets that we can really divide and conquer, but yet we have an all hands on deck mentality.
Assemblywoman Donna Lupardo, who's been a tremendous advocate for hemp, basically worked with the Assembly and Legislature to get an initial bill passed for basically research on hemp.
All right, let's plant some seeds here. Can I draw a line?
Yep, draw a line. Beautiful.
It was really exciting to kind of be present for the first planting in over 80 years and really kind of be the flag bearers for an industry that we really believe can transform not just upstate, but the entire sort of American landscape.
80 years since the legal planting.
Every seed had to be accounted for and had to go into the planter, and we had an armed guard with us while planting. It was an odd feeling, right, for the first time. And I think after that, what's really nice to see in the ensuing year that we've had is just how it's more ubiquitous across the state. There are more licenses being granted. Governor Cuomo has made a big push to make hemp a revitalization engine down here. From that initial, the seeds arrived, you felt like you were doing something under cloak and dagger in a way.
Hoping that the 30 acres that are being planted here today will turn into a crop that will show others how important it is for this crop to become a staple in our agricultural world.
A marijuana plant basically is a frustrated female that's not pollinated. So basically, if you pollinate it, THC drops, and basically you ruin your marijuana crop.
We have hundreds of thousands of unused acres in the southern tier alone, and we'd like to see those acres put back to good use for a variety of purposes. It is something that people are using for epilepsy treatment, for example. It's the main component in Charlotte's Web, that oil that parents want to use for their children.
This is a female plant, so you can see it's got seeds that are turning brown. That means that it's ready to go. These are produced for grains, so it's a little bit lower than what maybe people are used to when they see hemp. You know, hemp could vary from 3 to 4 feet high to 12 to 15. The higher growth yields are more for fiber. The lower sort of stockier plants that have more seeds are more for grain and food production.
If you rub it in your hands, the smell will remind you potentially of marijuana, but certainly the taste is something very much like a traditional seed would taste. Has very high protein in it, high in omegas as well, so it's considered another superfood, and it's been slowly working its way into the American diet. For instance, right now we're doing a hemp pasta. I think one of the fun things that we've done with Satter Farms, we've developed hemp baby leaf greens, which are now in restaurants in New York City. That's exciting, that's sexy. You want to see something sexy? Go to a restaurant, have your hemp greens in it, and say, what kind of wine should we drink with this? That's fun.
We're the only industrialized nation that doesn't legally allow farmers to cultivate hemp, and I think we're starting to see the tide change, and as more people understand the difference between hemp and marijuana, they realize that there's no reason why it should be considered a Schedule I narcotic.